call the meeting to order of the Providence City Planning Commission for March 11th, 2020. And our roll call, Mike, there she is.
I just got off work.
So what I just said, Mike,
Yes,
changes.
that's okay. That's my role, to be flexible.
Just got done working.
You're okay. Roll call, Mike Fortune we have Laura Banda, we have Ruth Ann Holloway, Kathleen Alder, and Roland Cecil, and I am Bob Perry, the chair. And Kathleen, if you would do the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look those over?
I move we approve the minutes of February 12th, 2020.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Is that second by Ruth Ann? Or
Kathleen.
by Kathleen? Okay.
And are there any changes, additions, deletions? I couldn't find anything.
I couldn't either.
Everybody all set with those minutes? All in favor of approving the
Aye.
minutes? Aye. Opposed?
I abstain.
Okay.
Present.
Laura has abstained.
Can I just say thanks to Jesse? He does a great job.
Yes, again, thank you, Jesse.
I appreciate that. I try really hard. So.
Get that in the minutes.
Okay.
A lot of times there have been mistakes and things, but I've just not found any in there. So once in a while there's one little tiny thing, but it's not content related.
All right,
Thank you.
let's move to public comments. Citizens may appear before the Planning Commission to express their views on issues within the city's jurisdiction. Comments will be addressed to the Commission. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes per person. The total time allotted to public comment is 21 minutes. Persons wishing to address the Commission during public comment should sign in a public comment sign-in sheet located at the entry to the meeting room. We'll find out if we have anybody. Okay. We'll move on to, we don't have a public hearing, so we'll move on to the action item. Should the Planning Commission not be able to make a decision or take exception to the action items, then that item will be tabled and revert back to a study category. The applicant will have 15 minutes to introduce and make a brief presentation. Administrative action, the first one, item number 1, Providence Planning Commission will consider for approval the amended final plat adjusting the lot lines for lots 22, 23, and 24 Brookside Village Phase 1 in the general area of 320 North, 200 East. Scarlett, do you want to add anything to that?
Only that on one of the conditions, I'd written this up a little while ago, and then when BJ made a final decision, he decided that he did not want to vacate the public utility easement. So we need to just strike the condition number 1 prior, well, not the first sentence of condition number 1. Prior to the recording of the amended plat, the Providence City Council must adopt an ordinance vacating and relocating the PUE between lots 20 and 21. That just needs to be struck.
Condition number 1, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And just a tiny bit of background. This is the Croshaw, Royland C. and Dorothy J. Croshaw are BJ's in-laws, and they had done some boundary line adjustments a few years ago. Unfortunately, when they did those boundary line adjustments, they didn't realize they needed to do an amended plat. And so when BJ came in a little while ago to try and do some different things with his house, we found that the boundaries were out of whack compared to what we had, our official record was. So this plat is putting the lots back together from that boundary adjustment and then moving the lot lines just slightly, so that we've gone back from 3 lots. We started with 2, then they did some boundary line adjustments and had 3. Now we're going back to 2 lots. The lot 02, 1800023 is combining with lot 02, 1800142. So that will be all one lot under the lot number of 0023. And then we will have the lot 02, 1800022. It's adjusting its boundaries so that lot is increasing its size just a little bit, and lot 0023 is combining with 0142 and reducing that mass just a little bit. So when all is said and done, we have 2 lots that meet the zoning for that area. The staff recommends that this boundary line adjustment be approved. BJ understands that, we've talked with BJ, he understands that if at some point in time, as you can see between lot 22 and 23, there's a dotted dash line that runs diagonally. That is the public utility easement. At this time, since it's not going to impact where he's building anything, he's going to leave that there. He understands that that's an active utility easement. I don't think there's any utilities in it right now, but if a public utility wanted to, they could use it. He also understands that if in the future he wants to expand his house any to the northeast sort of, he would have to come in and vacate that. So he's fully aware of the impact of that on his lot.
That is indicated by one of the letters that we got. Correct. And we also have a letter from the Croshaws. And that letter states, this letter is to provide a documentation for a written statement consenting to Benjamin J. and Emily C. Smith in pursuant an application for an adjusted plat in Providence City affecting lines for properties with parcel numbers of 0022, 0023, and 0024. Anybody got any questions, concerns?
Regarding the chair, it looks like they've worked out all the things with the city that would impact that area, and I have no further concerns or comments.
Kathleen?
I would just an informational question. If they should decide they want the utility easement changed or back, they can only do that as long as there are no utilities in it, right? If the utilities come along and locate in there, then they would not be able to abandon those. Is that correct?
Well, unless they were willing to pay to relocate the utilities to the new location. But that would be a process that would go through City Council. City Council has to vacate a public utility easement. And so, yes, there's a process they would have to go through. We have to notify the utility companies. We have to notify the utility companies whether there's utilities in the ground or not, if we're going to vacate or relocate. So yes.
Vacating doesn't cost anything unless there's a utility in there.
There's a fee for
There
us.
is a fee?
There's an application fee for Providence City because there is the expense of the public hearing notice and then the mailings, the notifications. but there wouldn't be any fee to any of the utilities. It's just the application fee, unless there are utilities in the ground, and then we would have to work with utilities, and generally they allow somebody to relocate those as long as they pay for the relocation.
Does the requester to have those moved, do they pay?
Yes, it's not the city, it would be the.
So there would be a cost to them to
If
do
there are utilities in there, yes. And the utility companies would have to do that. I'm not guaranteeing they would, but often they have allowed that to happen. But the person that wants to move those utilities has to pay to move them. So the developer or the requester would pay to move them.
Just a curiosity on this one.
Roland, do you have anything?
Nope.
Okay, from Laura. All right, then,
I move we approve the amended final plat for adjusting the lot lines for lots 22, 23, and 24 Brookside Village Phase 1.
I have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion, any further discussion? Anything from Scarlett?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That carried. Thank you. And next is our study item. Kent Dunkley will discuss development options for property located in the general area of 700 West, 300 South, including but not limited to property access and uses. Kent?
There we go, got one.
Got one?
This one's at, and the one.
This one's up here.
So,
Okay, so you can see it here, okay.
Plus we've got the handout
Have
in
to
front
have
of
it
us.
in one of them.
I'm here to,
saw this.
first of all, thank you. I'm here to recommend a beautification project for the city of Providence to remove a big pile of dirt that is an eyesore on 1700 South and Highway 165. That is a difficult corner, as you know. It's been for sale for a number of years. There are actually interested parties at this point in time, and that's why I'm here, to see what your thoughts are and to get some guidance from you on how we might handle this corner. There are a few different issues, and I know that you're not voting on anything tonight, but if you could give me feedback, that would be helpful for us moving forward. First, we have been told by Civil Solutions that we need to divide the corner, and they suggested at least 3 parcels, one for a corner commercial lot, a second lot, and actually this has changed since this was drawn. Lot number 3 would be the commercial corner. Lots 1 and 2, with the offers that we have now, would be 1 lot of about 3 acres. The corner would be 1 lot of about 2.75 acres, something like that. The third parcel in this subdivision would be Jerry Fickus's home that he lives in. And so as we look at this right now, we have 2 buyers that have made an offer on the 3-acre parcel, which would be lots 1 and 2. One of them is interested in a high-density housing project. The other one would be interested in putting some kind of a commercial storage there, plus some warehouse space that would be leased out to individuals for.
Did that core get bumped out, Ken?
No.
It would be nice if our corner looked like that.
Like this?
Yeah.
You
I think
bring
that
me-
works.
Kathy,
bring
please.
us the light that we're on.
Please don't set the standard that high, okay? That's not going to happen. Right? The other corner across the street, I agree with you. That's a great place to do that. So, right now, we have high density, an offer that they would like to do high density, similar to the Ridgeview townhomes that are just to the south of us. same developer or owner, just starting in the development business. The other buyer would be, they would build actually a community center, and I know that's a key word, but some place where kids could go and play baseball and soccer and that during the winter time. And then on the front, they would build the units that are about 1,600 square feet or 2,000 square feet with a small office, and then space where dry cleaners or other businesses could operate out of those. And then recently, we've been approached by someone who would like to put a C-store on the corner. C-store would generate sales tax, a good amount of sales tax. And so in the past, and I know I'm kind of jumping around, I'll kind of try to get to a point here, but in the past, we've been told that all of this land on 1700 South and Highway 165 is zoned highway commercial. All of it would need to be sales tax generating. In speaking with city officials past and some present, they've said that maybe you would consider limiting, and I'm going to try to get this right, as we go west towards Logan Extermination, changing the use there from highway commercial to some other use that would allow something other than sales tax generating. So those are a couple of ideas. With this, does anyone have any questions at this point? Okay.
C-store meaning cell phone?
Convenience store, gas, what we used to call a gas station,
Okay.
but
Right.
like a Chevron or something like that.
Thank you.
It's not Maverick, right?
It's not Maverick, no.
Is
A
that
competitor.
lot 3, the C-store?
The C-store would be right on the corner, yes.
Ken?
Yes.
There used to be water running through there. Was there any problem with the federal people? and all
Yes,
that?
there is, and that's why we have a dirt pile and water running through it.
Right.
There is a quarter of an acre, we've had an engineering study done, there's a quarter of an acre of wetlands that would have to be mitigated. The owner of the C-store knows this, we know it very well. The Army Corps will not let us move forward on this until they know who the buyer is, and then they will tell us how we can mitigate it. And buyers are apprehensive of moving forward until they know that they can do something with it. So we've just kind of been at a standstill. I don't know that this particular buyer will work out, but we've had 3 conversations, and they're interested to see what we learned tonight in this meeting.
When the city filled in the road there, did they put a line underneath it for the water to drain on into the all the property?
Yes,
So that the water can move across?
yes.
Okay.
And that's,
Irrigation water in there
Yeah.
too.
it's just for
Yeah. and that, the way we understand it is that would need to be, unless someone were to buy it and leave the corner and develop it like the buyer was going to do years ago. But that would probably have to be piped and the fill brought in and compacted, and then something could be
Right.
established on the corner.
Sorry, Jesse.
Do you see access off of 165 at any point in there?
Yes, thank you. I'm trying not to look at my notes here, but we talked with Ryan and Rob. We met with UDOT last week, and they said that they would grant a access off of 165 right about here, if you can see that, 500 feet from the intersection. They would grant a second access. If that was done, then they would require Jerry to share that same access, wherever that is. So they would like they would allow an access on 165. We would like a couple of accesses on 1700 South. You can see that one was installed when 1700 was developed. The critical one for the C-store or whoever gets the corner would be move the road cut as close to the corner as possible, but not to interfere with the turn lane, that is the turn lanes that are there going left and right.
Kathleen, the chair. So the current access onto 1700, is not included in this cut. In this split where the lot number 3 is.
No, that, we don't know why it was put where it was, if it was the center of the property and that's how it ended up there. But we think moving forward, most developments would want a road cut into their own property, and we would like to scoot it as close to the corner as the city would allow. And UDOT told us that it was a city consideration, not a UDOT decision. So that will be made by Providence City, how close we can come to the corner.
That was gonna be a question whether UDOT was
We thought so,
dictating
but
something.
no.
Well, that's not a state road. Just the 165 is
Yeah,
just state, so they wouldn't say anything about a side road.
Right.
They don't have any jurisdiction.
So then UDOT would have some input on the access off of 165?
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
Do you see any issues there?
Oh, I was pleased to hear that we might get another road cut, because I think most businesses that would want that corner would want two access points.
Yeah.
And it's
Scarlett, do you see any issues with that, on the access off of 165? Or does the city?
Not off of 165, we'll follow UDOT's regulations for that.
Okay.
We will have to have, if they get serious about this moving the road cut on 300 South, we'll have to have have them do a traffic study, because we will have to be careful that we don't impact the left or the right hand turn lanes. We also need to make sure that people turning west off of 165, if they're gonna turn west and then go into that, like if they're coming from, if they're northbound, they're gonna turn west and then they're gonna make a left-hand turn to turn into the development. We wanna make sure that there's no stacking problem or anything there, that access is in a safe place. So the city is amenable to moving that access. We just don't know for sure where the best place is until after we have a traffic analysis done. And the reason why we let whoever's doing it is because do the study instead of the city is because the convenience store knows what kind of traffic to anticipate. They've probably done these things many times and they've got their demographics. They know what they're looking for. We let them do that and then they come in and show us and we make sure that it works and that's what we'll do. It will be based on engineering studies and we'll put it as close as we can to meet their needs, but also so that we have a safe road.
And I like the sound of that, Scarlett. As close as possible is where we would like it. Like I mentioned, lots 1, 2, and 3 are not designated at this point in time. So there's a variation of that in the future. We would like 2 accesses into the property if possible. The one to the east, if it was, we understand we may get a joint access, or it may come into lot number 2 and then have to go into lot number 3. And we understand that the less of that we have to deal with, the better. But 2 access is what we're looking for. The other item is the sewer. The sewer is in front of Zions Bank right now, and so there is no sewer on the west side of Highway 165 at this point in time. There's talk of that, but
There is sewer.
on the west side of 165,
Mm-hmm. It's north,
oh, not at this intersection.
not that intersection, but it's north.
I was thinking that there was sewer available because Seth was given the option to do that. To hook onto the sewer.
But that option wasn't exercised, so it
So
did
you
not
didn't put it down that road.
extend down there. That is the plan that we presented to the homeowner, or to the property owners. That's the future expansion for the sewer in that area. Would involve lift station because that is lower than our main line. So we would talk about extending main lines, gravity flow main lines and pressurized main lines, and a lift station will all be part of that southwest sewer expansion. The property owners, when we talked to them last year, were amenable and interested. Ryan and I have got to get together and arrange a meeting and talk with them. We've looked at several different options to how to fund that. We would like to be able to get all of the owners to work together so that it's not a burden on the first developer that comes, no matter where they are. We'd like to have it be a joint project with the owners and the city participate to a degree as well. But so we've looked at options. As soon as we're ready to present those to the property owners, we'll get a meeting scheduled and start moving forward on that.
I was thinking that it dipped into there just slightly, but it must not been.
No, we did think about it when they did the 1700 South project with the county and Logan City. One of the things that we, one of the things we realized when we did that, we thought that the Logan City lift station was going to be available to us. They were having some capacity issues at that time, and so they couldn't guarantee it would be available, so there wasn't any point to put that in if we couldn't utilize that lift station. So, which it ended up that it's good because that's not an option, and thus we're looking at the other option of a new lift station.
Any questions from, yes?
Ruth Ann has a question. On the way that's platted right now for your scenario, what's the acreage of 1, 2, and 3, and what are the frontages off of 1700? What's the width? Do you know what the width is?
Approximately. 1 and 2, even though it doesn't look like it on this drawing, are about the same as Logan Extermination, and that's around 1.5 acres for each lot. What we have guesstimated just by drawing with Cache County GIS would be a 3-acre parcel, and that would be lots 1 and 2. And then I'm just guesstimating on lot 3, it would be about 2.75 acres.
So did I understand you correctly that there's a different buyer for each lot, each section?
There are 3 buyers. 2 of them would like lots 1 and 2, and a third buyer would like lot number 3.
So on lot 1 and 2, they want to put 2 different types of housing in there?
No, I'm sorry. Thank you.
Okay.
The buyer that we have wants to buy lot 1 and 2 and put high-density housing
Okay.
on both of those lots.
Okay.
We have a second buyer that also wants to buy lot 1 and 2 and do the commercial building, warehouse, sports facility, and then on the frontage, build a commercial building that can be leased out or sold to someone to come in and operate a business out of.
Oh, okay, that makes more sense
Yeah,
now.
thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
I think the 3 lots total up to 9.87.
Yes. I think that's what it is.
That's what I got off the county map.
Okay.
Because the reason why I brought that up on the frontage too is because where it's coming up closer to the corner, depending on what is in lot 1 and 2, I'm wondering if the access to those, that strip way across the front that goes to the road could just be totally opened up, because as the traffic goes in and out of there, then you have more space to maneuver, and it won't bottleneck as much as they come around either corner to go in or out. Especially if it was high density housing, you'd have more people going in and out. Well, I guess it depends on the business that could be in there too. You might have the same amount of impact on traffic, but it's nice when you can pull in and then just travel along the front and then go into where you need to, instead of just a driveway type situation.
Frontage road type.
Yeah, just where you're pulling into a certain section that's been curb and gutter, if you will. That the whole section leave that open so that the maneuverability is easier and the travel is easier right in there.
And that's one reason we thought in this scenario, or these scenarios, if we had two road cuts, one for the high density and then another one for the corner, you'd separate those completely. And you just reminded me that the frontage on lot 3 on 1700 South, if I remember, Ryan, and I don't know if you remember, at the UDOT meeting, I think we came up with something close to 210 feet from the intersection. But
I believe that's correct. And that the Zions Bank one, which we figured was about the same size on the other direction, the east direction, was about that same
I think
200,
yeah.
right? I think that's what I recall. Just to give you an idea of what 200 feet looked like on the map, if you look at Zions Bank's entrance. And while UDOT said that it was the city's decision, they obviously have an interest to make sure that traffic flows. And they were saying 150 to 200 is kind of reasonable, or at least that's where they were. They didn't want to commit themselves, and we'd have traffic study and whatever. But anyway, so if it was back that same kind of distance, I think that put it at the property line. Is that right, Kim?
About, yes. We even talked about sharing that as an access point
So
for both parcels.
A thing to share.
Mhm.
You do have to remember though, there's not as much traffic on the 3rd South side as there is on the 17th South side. There's a lot more traffic that comes in off of 8991 that is turning mostly to go to the south,
So
to Hiram, to the Hiram, Nibley, Millville area. A few that are turning left, but if at nighttime, if you ever sit down there and see, there's a lot of traffic that comes on, and sometimes they're backed up, clear, stopped at the light, clear to the pest control business. So there's a lot more on that side with that amount of space than there is on the other side.
Chair, with UDOT, they do have a daily traffic count that watches that we can pull up, and we pull the traffic counts up at that time. So the traffic study is not as hard in that spot as it would be in other places.
the last thing that I would mention is just the mitigation of wetlands is really easy, if it can ever be easy. It should be on this property.
That's right.
It really should, because behind Jerry's home, there is acreage that could be available to mitigate the wetlands that we lose on the corner. And Jerry would allow the C-store or whoever buys the corner piece to just have that land and mitigate it. And so that's another benefit. So there are some things that are difficult, and there are some things that are really should be simple if they can be. So your thoughts on high density, is that a possibility, or non-sales tax generating businesses other than the corner? Is that a possibility, do you think?
I think I would probably like to see what it would look like, at some point down the road.
I have a concept of the townhouses, but it's drawn to the very max.
Through the chair, I always protect our business sector because you can't grow land. So my thought is more the business, which helps to repair the roads and different infrastructures of our city, I think are really important. And we only have so much space in Providence, and then it's going to be totally landlocked, especially for business. So I always lean heavily on protecting those sections of
The sales
property
tax.
that can be generating for the city.
That's your,
This is just a concept for this meeting, and you can see there's one road cut, and this is the max according to code that could fit on this property. We would prefer, if we need to do a frontage road, to flip-flop that plan so that there's a 5-plex that is lost for a frontage road to the corner rather than a 7-plex, if we can't create another access into that corner. And this plan looks a little bit different. The corner piece is a different configuration because the C-store buyer was not in the works when this was drawn a couple of weeks ago.
Questions, anyone?
I think as far as the high density, what price point are they looking at? Would
The
that-
Ridgeview over here are between 218 and 225. That's about 15 to 20 less than the visionary homes across the street. That's affordable housing today.
Mike, do you have anything?
Thank you, Bob, I appreciate it. I was gonna make two comments. One is, do you have something that shows the sports complex?
I don't.
It isn't a high density
No,
housing.
they're in a backup position right now.
Yeah.
I think it would be a metal building, and that doesn't sound very gracious, but.
With some retail options on the front.
Well, the standalone building the sports complex would be in the back of the property, and then the commercial buildings would be on 1700 South. They would be different structures.
Well, the other thing I was gonna just mention is, you can get a good idea of what not to do in Logan on 300 South. You have the one Maverick where people turn to go west, and it's an immediate entrance in. So the flow of traffic is really bottlenecked there. Where if you turn to the east and go, it's over about 150, 200 feet down. And that seems to work really well. So anyway.
So am I hearing that the C stores would be a good idea, a good addition?
Yes.
If we can work out the entrance. And the high density is not as favorable as the C store would be.
All right,
We may have an issue with that at the public hearing. I don't know if that may pop up.
Okay. Okay,
It
All
has in the past.
I think that's as much as we could ask for tonight, isn't it? Okay, all right.
Anybody
Any
else?
other questions? Okay, thank you very
Thank you.
much. You bet.
Wow, are we done?
I set such a good example last week.
follow Kathleen's example.
Reports from Scarlett, I guess. Staff reports.
I have to apologize, I did not bring the city council agenda in from last time, and it's been a couple weeks, and I can't remember, so let me see if I can pull it up on my phone really quick.
Do you know if we will see the general plan again?
Let Ryan take a minute and update you on a couple of things that he's working on with council members while I look this agenda packet up.
Thank you.
At this point, the general plan is on our website. It's been passed to council. Council has put it through a subcommittee. Subcommittee will report back to the council. I'm not sure that it will come back to planning and zoning. I would expect that if the city council takes it up at their April meeting, that they could pass it at that point. They could choose to send it either back to council or for more public comment. They could do those, but at this point, I would see that it comes back to them out of their subcommittee and probably for action by them. So I'm not necessarily thinking it would come back here. But.
Same thing on the setbacks issue.
Since the setback has been here, it has been taken to the council. They approved all but the setbacks on the accessory dwelling unit, and that was tabled for a future meeting to have it come back. So at this point, all the other setbacks were approved except for the accessory dwelling unit, and there is some disagreements with that one.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I think they have some different ones that will come back and discuss. So, trying to think of which other ones.
partial road that the committee worked on?
We reported, your information back to the council on that, and it was, reported and heard, and because you didn't take any action, it didn't refer to them to take any action, so no action was taken there. So at that point, that one, I believe, is a settled issue unless it brings
Done
up.
deal.
Yes, so I appreciate your work on that one, that was good. So, anyway.
A couple of other things that the council considered. We updated our personnel policies. We made a few changes to the holidays. We made some changes to the ability to use PTO. And then we also put some information in from the state auditor's office, plans that compliance action plans that they recommend. And so Ryan's done a really good job at getting us on the road. Now these are proposed plans, but we'd rather be ahead of the game than behind the game. And so Ryan's done a really good job of getting us up to speed on that. And the council did approve that. They want to revisit that in 6 months and see how the changes have impacted, but they did approve that. They also approved, we call it a recreation philosophy and cost recovery plan. That's how we charge the outside sport teams that come in and use our facilities. Well, not just sport teams, but outside people that come in and use our athletic fields. We base our charges on that. They updated those charges that the staff recommended, but they want to reconsider the methodology behind the plan. So we're working with a couple of council members, Ryan and Shayla and I. Ryan put together a subcommittee, and we are going to come back with that to the council at a future meeting. They also approved or adopted an ordinance establishing an impact fee enactment for wastewater treatment facilities. The fee is actually going to be on this coming council agenda. The fee will be established by resolution. I can't remember exactly. It's around $2,300. These fees, we intend to collect them at the time of CFO.
We collect them at the time of the impact of the application process and remit at the time of CFO. Or
and remit at the time of CFO. And where we're remitting is to Logan City. This is Logan City put together the facility plan and the initial impact fee wording. This is for the big treatment center, wastewater treatment center. Ryan talked about the setbacks, and that pretty much takes care of the rest of the meeting. So
one other one we did cover there, and I don't know that we've covered here, is kind of giving an overview of the GIS maps that we've been working on and incorporating in, and that'll be a tool that will that we have currently for the staff. We've just been working on that over the last few months to get that up and going. So,
what does up and going mean?
We started at zero.
You're posting them somewhere?
We have them on our internal site for us to be able to utilize data rather than physical paper maps. So the staff, it's at this point, it's really a staff resource to track water, sewer, storm drain, roads, any of those, and then we can take that data and either push it out to the public on different ones or whatever. We may have one for planning and zoning and say, here's the planning and zoning maps, and we overlay. A nice one is when we sit down with a developer, male or female, whichever. I'm learning. See, picking it up.
Gave him a hard time with that. He's talking about e-developers, so e-developer.
Yeah, so e-developer, either way, we can sit down with them and go over and say, hey, here's where water or sewer is available, and that's when we have the map and we can identify that. So that's one of the projects we're working on. It's a good resource as far as planning before it comes to planning commission, we can utilize that as an internal resource to help, so that we know where size of pipe are and what the resource is. So anyway, that's another thing we kind of went over with them, just so that you are aware. We're making great progress on that.
The next council meeting is when?
Next week,
Next Wednesday,
Wednesday.
the 18th.
they follow you the following week. So.
That's a good plan.
So the sexual harassment class or event is still on for March 17th here at this building?
It is,
Yes.
Okay. If there is someone who can't make that training,
I think the trust has one that's available that you can watch online.
all right, just in case.
We'll get the address for that, the link.
So it's 3 to 5, no change there.
Nope, no change
Correct.
there.
March 17th is
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Kathleen will have to sign the minutes from the last meeting. Jesse, you probably have those at our next meeting.
Yep.
When will that next meeting be? April, or do you
We-
see that Mr. Champlin's project will be coming up before that?
They have not, they came in, they redid their concept. Their concept now looks like it works well with our planned unit development ordinance. And so they are working on their preliminary plat, but they have not made a submission for their preliminary plat yet. So I would anticipate that your next meeting would be
April.
April 8th.
Okay. Anything from the committee members here? Commissioners? Yes.
Scarlett, I'm trying to figure out May's schedule. Can you tell me what May is for sure? Do we have that? Is it the same as what's on the city website?
The second Wednesday in May would be the 13th. So, and we're trying to focus your primary meetings on the second Wednesday of the month. The city council meetings, we're trying to focus on the third Wednesday of the month, so that if you have items coming out of your meeting, if the staff can get those turned around and into the council packets for the following meeting, that's the timing we're trying to make.
Okay.
So
I think May shows for planning, it shows 2 meetings.
it probably shows that on everything, because you have the option for a second meeting, as does the council. But as we've talked, the second Wednesday of the month is the primary meeting, and the fourth Wednesday of the month is sort of a as needed, or if you want a workshop type thing. But the primary meeting that we're trying to gear all of our development activity, applications, code amendments, is to the second Wednesday of each month. So that's the one you need to put a star by.
That'll work for you? Yeah.
Or did the Chaplin plot, where's
That
that
would be
located?
just north of Ballard Springs,
Okay.
off of 165, next to 300 South,
500 south.
500 South.
Yeah, it's
Getting there.
it's east of 165. There will still be some raw ground between the highway and where this, and it's slated to be an active adult community. So,
Is that the one that goes around the spring?
Not
it doesn't go around the spring, but it's right next.
there.
next to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The road is going to kind of go around
Your
the
road,
spring.
yeah, thank you.
I wonder if we can see it on this map. Not quite.
I have it on a zoning map.
It's further
Yeah.
east.
It's further east than this map shows.
Any other questions from the commission?
I move to close the meeting. You know,
That's your job.
Yeah, my job.
You saw me give you the eye.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay. Got a motion to close the meeting, got a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everyone.
Boy, these are